Okay, so welcome back again to A Twin Flame Path. Um, this is another re-record of this story. I guess, it's just a story that deserves a lot of attention. And I just noticed a couple of things that I wanted to correct in the last version. So here I am again. And hopefully, after a couple times of practice with telling the story, it'll be better. So I'm hoping. I want to do it justice. So, um, so the story is how we, I guess, met. Um, uh, the surrounding circumstances, I guess. I see a couple of hairs that need to. Hold on. Can't. Okay. So, we were actually introduced, and it was at a very interesting kind of time. I was in a situation that I was trying to ultimately leave, escape from, you could say. And I was just in this position where I needed an answer and a solution to a difficult problem. I was trying to leave a really bad marriage. It should have never happened. I mean, but you know, it did. And after like a few years, about 2 or 3 years, I was just like, this is absolutely ridiculous. It was ridiculous from the beginning, but then it got like really ridiculous. And then I was just like, okay, I need to be able to, do everything I need to do. And, so I started meditating a lot. And I think the meditation and the practices along with it, like listening to binaural beats and changing my diet, so, my pineal would be a little happy pineal. And watching the sunrise and the sunset, journaling about things. Like, I think it all just came together and kind of led to like my awakening. And that's when I was able to like hear and feel my twin flame. I was introduced to the concept by a friend that I had at the time, and she told me about the things, like the trials that she was going through in relation to her twin flame. And I was like, what is a twin flame? And this was about like 4 or 5 years ago. So she told me about it, and that's when I started like researching twin flame stuff. But then the twin flame research ultimately led to mostly research about like ascension, chakras, awakening, enlightenment, all those things like in that spectrum. And these are things that I had never really explored. I may have heard about a few of them or a couple of them in passing, but nothing like, to a degree where I was familiar. And I had always believed in like the spirit realm, but in like, I guess like the spirit world kind of sense, but like the mental aspect of like the individual, I had never really explored that very deeply. And so around this time, she was going through her things. And then my situation led me to wanting to be the best mentally that I could be so I could get up out. And so that combination, I think, was part of the whole formula that led to my twin flame and I like connecting again here on this earth at that time, here and now. I had always had dreams about a particular fellow, but he never had like a face. He always just had a feeling, and it was always very distinct, and so when the very first time that I saw my twin flame's picture, it was like instant recognition, but I overshadowed that with like fear, I guess, like, and apprehension, because I was like, if he finds out that I am interested in him, he may not talk to me anymore, so I gotta be cool. That's the fear and apprehension. Like, I like him so much and I'm so interested, but we weren't introduced on those terms per se, I guess, directly. Maybe we were. I really don't know. I mean, I'm looking back at it now and I'm like, okay, people must have realized that we were a good match in some way, but I realized that like years later, after I kind of like look back and kind of analyze the way that things went down. But we were introduced through like work, like a working kind of condition. I was in an abusive relationship, and so I would leave very early in the morning to prevent the abuse from happening. And I would come home right before that dodo would have to go to work. So from like 3 or 4 a.m., about 4 a.m. until like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, I would be gone. So another thing that kind of like led to the ascension stuff is that, I watched all the sunrises and all the sunsets for like months. And, because I would have to like sit in, people's neighborhoods, like, to wait for coffee shops to open. That's where I spent almost all of my time, was in coffee shops. 3 of them that were near where I was living at the time. And I would always like just go with whichever one felt good. So this day, I was at one of them, and there was a man who kind of like just gently approached me. He wasn't creepy, and he just communicated to me like, hey, there's an interesting listing, online. You should maybe check it out. And I think he noticed because I was doing art. He sat kind of near me, and I was always practicing like Japanese calligraphy and art. And I would be looking for like jobs and stuff online. So that's what I would do at the coffee shops, and then drink like a ton of coffee, because we all know I love coffee. So, and I would just stay, and so I took this man's advice and I looked online and I saw the listing, which led me to the website of my twin flame. And that's when I first saw like everything about him, like gotta make sure I don't cry, because we all know I have a little streak in me that I don't want to edit out any tears, and I don't feel like crying on camera. So I'm sorry, but I have to like hold it in. But like I saw I just saw everything about him. And yeah. And so, but I had to play it off. I had to be cool, because it wasn't like, hey, I have this friend, maybe you guys should date or something. And also, he was, in another country, and we didn't speak the same language. So, but, just everything, you're just meeting somebody, and, we got along really well, but he was my mentor. He's still my mentor, but it's like at the time, I saw him just like, if I could have him in my life forever, the way to do it is to keep things platonic, so he would at least be my mentor. Because if I tell him I'm interested, he may not be interested, or, whatever. And I was just like, okay, can't take that risk, But I was always interested in him. But I tried not to show it. I mean, it had to have been obvious. But, so he went on continuing to be my mentor. And, like after about a year is when we both like let each other know like how we felt, which was very strongly and very much in love with the other. That was after like, lots of getting to know each other and lots of times where it was apparent that we were interested in each other, but I think we just concretely let each other know like after a year. And within that year, we also met in person. It was a very brief meeting, and relatively formal. And so, but that just added, to everything. So that's how we met, and that's how we have been. But during this time, it's like I can see the good in the timing of everything, and I can also see, I'm playing with a napkin. I'm getting all fidgety over here, so sorry if that's coming up on audio, but so I'll stop. I'll take a drink instead, have some tea. Plain black tea, so good. When it's done right, it's so good. But so where was I? Yeah, I can see, the good. I've been impatient, like, all the time. I'm like, you're perfect, and I could be good for you, and we could be good together, and it'd be great, But I can see that. I know on my end. I know on his end, even though I don't know all the details, but I can only imagine. And I know on my end, I've had a lot to learn and really iron out and learn. Like, and he's helped me learn. I think I've had to learn a whole lot more than him. Like, he is truly my mentor. But I also had to iron out like my life here, in the States, because like if I would have just like taken off, or if he was here, we wouldn't have the understanding that we have of each other, which is incredibly helpful. It's helpful for us as partners, but it's also helpful to like us as individuals. We're ultimately together and one. But I had a lot of things that were screwy in my mind that needed to be worked through. And his patience and diligence and, his love for me has really helped that. He redefined my definition of love. You know, I came, I never experienced love until I met him or I encountered him, you know. Um, and that helped a lot of stuff because, you know, not to like, you know, think that it's completely just the way that it always is, but I did have a whole lot of childhood abuse. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that I don't come from a normal family, like an average, like, you know, my family is abnormal. And, you know, mentally, my mom and dad have not changed. And so, like, when you're in a culty kind of existence, the cult people don't say, like, hey, you know, we do some really fucked up shit over here, and none of it's good, and none of it's normal, but, you know, stick around. Like, they don't say that, you know? They make it seem like everything that they're doing is okay. Yeah, we sacrifice birds on Fridays, you know, that's all good. Like, no, it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, not they didn't sacrifice birds in my house, but like it's an example of like how things were, you know, and I'm not talking about just like childhood. I'm talking about like every year of my existence until really I went away to college. And that's when I finally like experience like felt normal, you know, like I was living away from everybody and living my own life, doing constructive things without much interference. And so, you know, and then, you know, after that, I moved out to Los Angeles. And more of the crazy stuff happened because, you know, my mom moved out there with my sister and my niece and I. And I wound up being the only one that was left. My mom sure did leave her mark while she was there. And that just reignited like the memories because it was like deja vu. And then throughout the years, you know, I just made up excuses. And then with my dad, he's just kind of like the quiet storm. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's so convincing. But then as time went on, I just realized like something's up. And then when I went through this period of time, and this is like a big example, when I went through this period of time of like trying to escape this shitty marriage, I realized how full of shit, you know, some people really were, you know, and I'm trying to be respectful here, you know what I'm saying? Because the Bible says honor your mother and father, and it's like I have to be cool because like I want to, you know, honor that command, but the truth is the truth, you know what I'm saying? So I have to like tiptoe with how I phrase things. But I can say without disrespect, they did boatloads of messed up things for many years and never took accountability. So going through this time of enlightenment, I was able to see that. I wouldn't have wanted to carry that into like my relationship with my twin flame, like, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, to kind of rewind, another thing that I did do was pray a whole lot during my whole life, you know, like all the time for somebody who is like him. I think I was praying for him, but I wasn't aware, you know, like of my past lives, how we were before. You know, there was just this familiarity, like this person exists. And that's kind of how I got into this bad marriage because like I got fed up, you know, like you feel like something is real and there, and it's just like nothing like that in your surroundings. You never encountered anything like that, and then it's just like, you know, so so that's part of like why sometimes things happen the way they do. It's an example, like a real world example. So, but yeah, so he helped me heal from a lot of things, and helped me and continues to help me recognize stuff that wasn't normal with my growing up, my perceptions nowadays. And so, and even after the time that has passed, it's been, there's always been something to learn, and the learning that you guys do together helps you. The learning that we've done together has helped us grow together. We grow at a very side by side, equal kind of pace. When I learn something, it'll lead to his discovery of something, and then his discovery of something will lead to me, and oftentimes it happens simultaneously. It'll happen in such a fast succession that it'll be simultaneous. So that's awesome. It's because you want to do that kind of work, and I'm really thankful to be in contact with my twin flame. The distance doesn't matter at all. It just doesn't matter. Of course, face to face and together and all that kind of stuff would be awesome. But we're not very far apart now, and the feeling is just as good. And I think being grateful is a big part of realizing that, because it's kind of oh, I thought that was a stray hair, but it wasn't. But I'm playing with my hair down here, so I'm fidgeting. So I was trying to stay away from the napkin. So, but yeah, I'm just really thankful that we have each other. And also this work, I feel like it goes towards what I can give to him. I would love for him to feel as good as he makes me feel. So, and he's definitely helped me understand what love really is. So, but on that note, I will see you next time. And take care in the meanwhile. And again, Happy New Year. Bye.